So my name's James Winnett. I am an artist and stone carver and a tour guide, and I think of them in that order primarily. So I work in public art and stone carving, so carving big blocks of stone. I'm based in Glasgow and I've lived there since 2010 when I came to study at Glasgow School of Art and did a Masters in Fine Art there. And for the last 10 years or so I've been developing an interest in public art and a real focus on stone carving. A lot of Mackintosh's buildings are not that imaginatively named, so you have Hill House, you have Windy Hill, you have House for an Art Lover, which is interesting in itself. But there's a kind of, I guess the core of the tour is around Mackintosh particularly, but I think it's a real benefit to put him in context of other architects working around that period, just slightly before him, with Alexander Thompson. So we go to Homewood House. And also just to see the kind of fabric of the city that he was kind of living in, that kind of late Victorian period, the kind of architectural styles that he would have been familiar with. So you can really recognise how much of a departure from that Mackintosh, explores with his work. And particularly with House for an Art Lover, because it's designed for a competition, it's maybe a clearer vision of his work. He's not restricted from budgets or clients other than the rules in the brief, so he's free to really kind of go for it. And it's interesting that building, even though it was never built in his lifetime, was quite an influential building because those drawings were widely disseminated around Europe, and so some of that influence has been kind of passed on, whereas somewhere like the School of Art, when that was built, he wasn't necessarily credited for that. It was only a bit later that there was a broader awareness of the significance of that building, which is the masterpiece, or was the masterpiece of his work really. During their lifetime, Mackintosh and Margaret MacDonald worked very closely, particularly at House for an Art Lover. It's not him working for the architectural firm Honeyman and Keppie. That's his day job. He's approaching that competition as an individual. She's there kind of side by side, and the rules of that competition ask for an artist and an architect to collaborate together. So it's kind of written into the brief that they're encouraging people to work and think about it in that way. So she had a huge impact on his work and vice versa as well. But you have to kind of see them together really. Even when it is work that he's doing for the firm, he's coming home. There's conversations that are happening there. So I think her hand is clearly present in a lot of his architectural work. So I've had a relationship with House for an Art Lover since moving to Glasgow, and I'm the tour guide at the house, so I've done that for 12 or 13 years. And part of that has been working each year with ACE and the groups that come to Glasgow. And so I've got an understanding of the clientele, the kind of interests that people have. And I always say to people at the start of the tours, feel free to chip in. Every tour is different. I'm not working from a script at all. And it's giving people a license to kind of feel they can kind of contribute, can ask questions, can offer different perspectives, drawing on their own experience. So I have a studio that I use for carving stones. It's basically just a shed where I can keep my equipment, and I carve the stones outside because we have great weather in Glasgow, so that's most days. And so once it's right next to House for an Art Lover, so I can do the tour, and then if people are interested, I can bring them over and show them the stones that I'm working on. I think the link with Mackintosh, he would have seen himself as an artist and an architect. I don't think he understood those as different concepts, but for him the two are the same thing, and that extends to his own work. There's this German term, Gesamtkunstwerk, that Mackintosh was kind of connected with, this idea of a total work of art. So if he designs a tea room, it's not just the architectural details, it's the cutlery, it's every single element to that space, the aprons that people would have worn. So your whole experience is one that's been kind of curated by an artist or an architect. And then he doesn't tell us what it all means, so people like me, we have a freedom to kind of interpret that, and it's encouraging people to kind of think about it in that way. And not just with Mackintosh's work, you can take some of the learning from an engagement with his work onto other buildings as well. So if we go across to Mount Stuart as well, there's a huge amount of symbolism in the artwork and architecture in that space. The two there are quite integrated. So you start to build a conversation, and also it doesn't have to be definitive, so people can offer different perspectives on things. it's a beautiful city. People sometimes have got an image in their head of what Glasgow is going to be like before they go, and then they're like, you know, they're impressed when they get there. You know, the parks, the kind of landscape around the city as well. But you know, the architectural heritage is really strong. Yeah, I mean, it's got its own challenges, like anywhere, you know, but it's got a huge amount to offer. Yeah.